Hello again, Steve here with a little bit of a talk this evening, a little bit of a chat, a little bit of a ramble. 2 words. See, what often happens with me during the day is I carry my little notebook for when I'm doing handyman work. I need notes to jot down dimensions, measurements, whatnot. But then what I do is I flip the notebook around and I write in the back little ideas on things I might want to talk about. A lot of times they don't get talked about, but hey. What came across my mind a couple of times today, or at least once, was first of all the word entropy. Actually, that came about a few days ago and I wrote it down. And then I wrote my office / Ottawa / Washington. I don't know. We'll see what those come up, what we can come up with those. The next one was eschew. Eschew. I've heard this word a few times and never used it much. But, you know, the funny thing of it is, English has got to be one of the craziest languages in some ways. Spelling, it drives me nuts. I've always been terrible at spelling. And I think a lot of it has to do with I have this lack of patience for stupidity. I mean, at least what appears to be stupid for me. Lots of things that I do are probably stupid, so I should be frustrated at myself much of the time, right? But why the hell do we spell things the way we spell them? It's like any other language adopts a word. If they adopt a word from another language, they spell it their way. Spanish, for example, you know how they say football? Futbal. Futbal. Because they don't say football. Those vowel sounds don't exist. But the closest to foot is foot in Spanish. The closest to ball is bal. You know how they spell it? F-U-T-B-A-L. Football. They don't keep our spelling, which is what we do. So anyways, the reason it frustrates me is because I want to look up a word sometimes, but I don't know how to spell it. And how do you spell eschew? Eschew, eschew, eschew. So I'm typing in all these sorts of things. Finally, I had to ask my daughter, who seems to know. She can just spell like unbelievable. She came in like second in her elementary school spelling bee a couple times. Maybe it was first, I'm not sure. But just amazing speller. Oh, you mean eschew? Eschew or whatever it is. And it's S-chew. Like chewing on something. E-S, chew. Anyways, it means to deliberately ignore or to put off. Essentially, it's my understanding of it. And this leads right into entropy. Because entropy, okay, in the scientific sense it has to do with heat and whatnot, right? But in the normal sense, it's this tendency for things to, if we leave things alone, for them to go to chaos, right? A friend of mine, recently he bought an apartment in the city because his wife's having health problems, and he has this house out in a small town. And she didn't want to sell it, so they just kind of left it there. And all of a sudden, there's, you know, a mouse got in the house, and there's this problem and that problem. The deck fell apart. I mean, really, it's like a year away from bats flying around the house. It's just amazing how things go to pot when left alone. And my office is an example of that. I try to keep it fairly neat, but it just, unless I'm just really on top of it every day, it turns into a mess. So do my pockets, incidentally. Years ago, I used to get sore legs because I'd have nails in my pockets and my pocket knife, and I'd sit on something that was in my pocket, and it hurt. But my pockets of my jacket, because I have several jackets, and I don't wear those jackets all the time, and every time something gets stuffed in it, napkins, pieces of paper, receipts, and whatever. So the other day, I put my jacket on, and I put my hands in to look for something. My keys were they were in the bottom of the jacket pocket, and I got a little bit flustered. I don't very often get flustered, and I just yanked everything out. I just yanked it out and just dumped it on the stairs near the back door. And but rather than throw it right in the garbage, because there might be something in there that's really holy that I got to keep, right? So here's an example of my pockets. Here's an example of my pockets. And that's just part of it. That was like one pocket. Completely ridiculous. But that's entropy. the nature of entropy too. If we do not organize things and keep on keeping things in our way, our nature, for some of us anyways, me as an example, our nature is entropic, if that's a word, is to just create chaos. I mean, I look around here and I've got some tools sitting in the corner, a guitar that I haven't used in a while sitting out in front of me with a timetable for next year, my backpack, briefcase, a box with a bunch of stuff, I don't know what's in it, a newspaper here, and even my bookshelf is kind of disorderly. Behind there, not too bad, although it looks a little messy. It's because those things I don't usually take on and off, so they kind of stay, right? But my desk, it's a flat surface. Hey, it's like, you know, if you have a window ledge and you don't wipe it once in a while, it collects with dust. Well, that's what my desk is like, except that it's stuff on there, because in the moment there's something more important. So to combat this, what I've done, and I mentioned this before, is to try to organize. I'm trying to look for the book right here now, but it's a book called, it doesn't come to mind anyways right now, but there's lots of books like it. And it's about, well, I'll find it somewhere. I should have been prepared for this, I guess. Anyways, it's about David Allen, getting things done. Getting things done. So he talks a lot about organization in here. This is I don't get any profit from this book, but I recommend it. And basically it's a way of organizing a workspace, because what he noticed is that many people have a disorganized workspace. To have things in a certain way and a procedure, you'll see right here, it's a little bit messy right now, but this is basically an inbox-outbox organization system. And I try to, as much as possible, emulate that in the computer with the online, with the information. So for example, email. I set up files in the email. When I read this book, literally, I've had the same email address now, my main email address, yahoo.com, since the 90s, I think. I mean, I was not a really early adopter of email, but it was definitely in the 90s, like maybe the early 90s. I should look, there's probably a way of looking somehow. And you know, up till I read this, there were still emails in there that I had received back then that I had never erased. Maybe read emails. They were read probably, but I would just read them and just let this thing keep getting longer and longer and longer and longer. And there were thousands and thousands of emails in there. And I took a day or so in the process of going through this book. It took me weeks. I don't have any emails at the end of the day, most days now. I have files that are built into the email system, file them in, and that's the effort to counteract this entropy. Because if I eschew that importance of organizing, then things just slow down. It's like a computer, right? Has too many windows open, has too many programs running. All of a sudden, it's just slow. It's slow to get things done. But I constantly see things that got to get done. And this is an Intergenie sort of a lesson for me, a life lesson, Intergenie life lesson, which is that I do have the ability, and I would say that most people do. I would say that everybody has the opportunity or the capability of improving their organization. It would create more effectiveness in life, right? But for example, the other day, I went looking for a password because I've, over the years, signed up to so many different things. And this was a Meetup password, meetup.com, because I run a Meetup. And I had tried to help somebody else on their Meetup, so I had logged into their Meetup, and then I had to get back into my Meetup because my computer remembered the password for mine. You know, I couldn't get back into mine. So I went looking for it. And I have, you know, darn, maybe 100 passwords by now. And they're not the most organized in how to find them. So look through and then look through again, then look through again. And then finally when I find it, type it in. It doesn't work for some reason. That's what I find too. A lot of times when I find passwords, I don't know how the computer remembered them, but when I type them in, they don't work. I'm just, you know, supposed to be a capital here or something like that. And it's just the nature. It's one of those challenges in life. It's like weeds in the garden, man. Like you pull them out once and you got to come and visit them again. But I think this is I think that's nature's way of strengthening us, right? It's nature's way of saying, hey, dude, keep on your game. Like you went to the gym this week, you might have to go in a few more days. Or you know, or you want to get good at something. You don't just practice once, you got to do it again. And this entropy keeps us on our game because nature is constantly fucking with us. It's constantly messing with us. And by nature I mean our own nature within us to be lazy. I know I have this lazy streak for sure. At the end of the day, just drop everything. I got papers on the floor that I'm supposed to run through the shredder, but I didn't run them through the shredder. So now there's like 6 or 7 pages, and all I got to do is run them through the shredder, but the damn things are still sitting there. So it's an interesting challenge. It's an interesting thing to talk about, and it's one of those things that creates friction on our path, right? On our path of success in life. There's all these distractions, but there's also all this stuff. It's like slushy snow that we put in front of us based on our allowance of entropy to creep in and our allowance of entropy just to be there and not dealing with in eschewing these responsibilities of being a little bit more organized and sweeping the path ahead of us to make sure that things are in order and we can keep going. I don't know. Hope this was helpful. The words eschew and entropy. Important words, I think. Important words to understand as their effect on our lives and the tendencies that they can have within. Great chatting. Talk again soon. Bye for now.